Hi, my name is Sergio Beretta, and I am the Data Management Vista here at the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation.
Good afternoon. I'm Jose Calvillo, the Director of Operations at the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation. And today we're joined by Libby Ziemelis. Libby is a virtual administrator for supporting HandsOn Connect, the nonprofit Success Pack, and other applications running on the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation's Salesforce platform. For those of you who don't know, Salesforce is a cloud-based customer relationship management service utilized by the foundation, partnering organizations, and volunteers to improve the lives of others through the power of literacy. Similarly, Libby assists with many other organizations and their missions via technical and administrative support for data management software and systems. Libby has gone above and beyond in helping the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation to continue to meet the needs of the Houston community by producing highly effective data infrastructures. Libby's tireless commitment to the success of our foundation is the essence of a literacy point of light.
The first question have for you is, how did you learn about the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation, and how long have you been involved with the foundation?
Interestingly enough, the first time that I heard about the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation was back in 2015. I was actually introduced during a volunteer event. I happened to be in Houston taking part in the National Conference on Volunteering and Service. So I signed up through Connect for Literacy, and I volunteered, and I went to a school to read to students. So that was my first experience with the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation.
Libby, tell us a little more about your involvement with our organization now. You know, what's been your most enjoyable experience with working with the foundation thus far?
Yeah, excellent. So in 2015, I volunteered, and then actually 1 year later, so in 2016, I left my nonprofit job and I joined the team at HandsOn Connect. And that is actually when I started working with Connect for Literacy and Jose and your team as that virtual administrator. And I started out right away supporting HandsOn Connect and the use of Salesforce. It's really very hard for me to choose one project over the years to be my most enjoyable experience, because everything I've had the opportunity to work on is intended really to make things better and easier for your team and for the foundation as a whole. I will say, though, probably one of my favorite projects that was for me was a success was automating the updating of community and your literacy partners on your site, because I know before I worked on that, it was a pretty tedious process, and there were these HTML tables that had to be updated, and everything had to be worked out really individually. But now it's really a checkbox, and
Mhm.
we don't have to go through that process anymore. So that was really a good feeling when it was successful, and I know that it saved your team a lot of time and frustration to try to keep that updated. But I will say, there's so many things that we've accomplished, and there's so much more coming. And every time we have something new to work on, it just makes me more excited to be able to work with your whole team.
Now, Libby, why is literacy important to you? Do you have a specific connection to the literacy cause?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think really at its core, literacy should be important to everyone, not just people involved with the foundation, because literacy is such a powerful tool to allow you for growth, education. Like, I have not really learned a whole lot new things without being able to read and go further than something that's been presented to me. literacy offers a way to get involved in, new things. It can give you a way to escape, or to have a shared experience. So really, literacy is the core that should be afforded to everyone. I will say though, I don't think it was until I became a parent that I really began to understand the value of literacy. It's something I always took for granted. I always had access to books, or was able to get to a library. I didn't have to, fight for that right to read, or to have access to those things. I had that luxury and the ability to even just sit and lose myself in a book for a few hours. But when I became an adult, I realized that's not always the case. That a lot of people don't have access, to books. And being able to instill that joy for reading, and um, that the yeah, the joy for reading into my children is something that I really have learned to value, and I really hope that they can carry it with them, throughout the rest of their lives.
Well, and Libby, through your efforts with Hands-on Connect, you are helping to broaden that love and support for literacy for thousands of children and families in the Houston area. So we can't thank you enough for your support. Um, on a personal note, what kind of what's your either favorite genre of book, or maybe your favorite book that you have so far?
Yeah, and that's a tricky one too, because over time it's changed. When I was in college, I took a literature class, and I was exposed to Joseph Campbell, and his thoughts on the hero's journey, and that the idea that you could compare mythology and examine human culture, that was just fascinating. And I just could not get enough of that. And that really expanded my interest in reading more of those, I guess, technical reads. Um, but I love fantasy. And I think these days, having kids that are now becoming a little bit older, they're beyond, the green eggs and ham, and, those, more basic children's books, which I love as well. But Harry Potter, and then The Hobbit, and all of those, because I transitioned from reading to being an individual activity that I enjoyed, to something that I can share with my kids. So that's really the biggest difference. But I just love reading, so it's hard to pick.
I think we all struggle with that. I mean, there's so many out there. As long as we're reading and it's good, it's fun. That's the best.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Now, Libby, I see that you have your CNP. As a fellow CNP myself, how do you see CNP benefits uh, in your work with other nonprofits that you work with, their data needs? And for reference, CNP stands for Certified Nonprofit Professional.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a really good question, because I don't really get an opportunity to talk about my CNP very often, because I work with Salesforce, and usually everyone's looking at my Salesforce certification. So the CNP is actually, very valuable and thoughtful to me. And just to give a little bit more context, from what Sergio mentioned, is that that particular certification has a set of requirements, including you have to have professional experience, you have to have volunteer service, you have to have demonstrated nonprofit knowledge, in addition to your college credits and completion of a leadership development program. So it's very comprehensive certification, and I'm grateful that I went through that program, because getting that certification, it gave me a really good foundation to business practices and the ways that nonprofits function. You need to be able to understand financial and risk management, fundraising, program development, um, program evaluation. It gives you a unique perspective, of something that nonprofits have to go through. It gives me that base of understanding to be able to help me come up with solutions for nonprofit organizations. So from that, I've worked at numerous nonprofits. I've served on many boards of directors. I've volunteered at hundreds of organizations. Um, and especially in my role currently, I use all of that combined to be able to give me that advantage of that experience to go beyond that textbook understanding of what a nonprofit does to be able to meet the unique challenges of nonprofits.
Awesome. Yes, I agree with you. I strongly value my CNP as well because it's given me the foundation to working for nonprofits like the foundation. And again, I want to thank you for everything you do for the foundation, and congratulations on being selected as our literacy point of light.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. I do. I look forward to working with your team. I meet with you every week, and it's always a joy. So thank you very much.